Yo, what's up guys? In this video, I'm gonna be breaking down my betting process for betting on players to hit a home run. So it's one of my favorite bet types. I've made, money on both traditional sports books like FanDuel and DraftKings, just betting on straight bets, players to go yard, as well as on fantasy sites like Betr and PrizePicks. Sometimes there's some home run value on DFS platforms. So in this video, I'm just going to take you through my process, how I find home run bets with an edge. Now, obviously, if you've seen all my other tutorials on MLB betting strategies, stuff like that, some of this information probably will be repetitive. It's not like there's a huge difference between betting on, player doubles, player hits, compared to player home runs. However, in this video, I'm going to take you through what I do every single day to find the best home run bets. So first and foremost, the thing I want to mention is I do think it's critical to use multiple sports books. I'm in Virginia. I say this in every video, and maybe it gets annoying, but it's also really important, is in sports betting, all of these sports books, there's hundreds of books that have launched in the US, hundreds of books, right? Everybody wants a piece of US market share. So all of these sports books have launched. They all set their own unique odds. So sometimes Caesars Sportsbook has really good home run value. Other times there's more value on FanDuel. FanDuel also, one of the largest sports books in the US, they run a lot of promos basically every single week on player home runs. So hopefully this video helps you with your promos as well. But the first thing I wanted to mention, because it's the core of profitable data-driven sports betting, is ideally you use multiple books. Because if you only use DraftKings, sometimes there's no good home run value on DraftKings. All the value's on Caesars. So for example, today, you can see I locked in this play on Caesars, Joe Adell to hit a home run at plus 700 odds. You can see all of these other sports books like DraftKings, FanDuel, Circa, they're offering you a worse price, plus 600. So it may not seem like a big difference getting plus 700 versus plus 600, but long term, in terms of your ROI, it obviously makes a massive difference. It's like buying a stock at $600 versus $700 as a day trader. It adds up long term. So finding value, always getting the best price on your home run bets, that's kind of step one. Use multiple books. Make sure every home run bet you lock in, you're getting the best possible odds. Because if you're betting Joe Adell to go yard at plus 600 on FanDuel, when there's another sports book offering plus 700, you're getting ripped off. You're getting a terrible price. So you definitely don't want to do that. But without further ado, let's get into my first MLB home run betting strategy. So the first thing I do when I'm looking for home run bets is I check for crossed markets. So I've gone through this in other videos, but basically crossed markets, also known as arbitrage, is when two sports books have such different odds that you can bet equal and opposite outcomes. In this scenario, a player to hit a home run and a player to not hit a home run on two different sports books and guarantee a risk-free profit. So in this specific example on Joe Adell, Caesars had his over at plus 700, NoVig had his under at minus 658 with 2.6K in liquidity. So at minus 658, NoVig is a betting exchange, so it's peer-to-peer. So at minus 658, on NoVig, you could bet $2,600. So you could bet $2,600 on Joe Adell to not hit a home run on NoVig at minus 658. So basically, because these two books are so out of sync, I could just arbitrage bet this, bet the over on Caesars, the under on NoVig, and guarantee a risk-free profit of like $13. But by definition, if I can bet both of these plays, the over and the under in the proper proportion to guarantee a profit, I know for a fact one of these two bets has to be plus EV, positive ROI, however you want to think about it. One of these two bets has to be profitable. The over at plus 700 or the under at minus 658. So if you look at the market, I thought it was really clear that Caesars was offering value at plus 700. No other book really offering above plus 650. Sharp books like Circa had this plus 600 minus 850. So the bet was positive EV or profitable to Circa's market. So you have high confidence, long story short, when the market's crossed, right? Because again, by definition, one of those two bets, the over or the under, has to be profitable. So even if you randomly flip the coin and decided to bet the over or the under, you're not going to lose money long term because one of those two bets has to be plus EV. But regardless, I thought ridiculous value on Caesars at plus 700. So that's what I played for 250 bucks. And that's the first thing I do. Whenever I'm looking for amazing home run bets on FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, I use a ton of different sports books. I check the OddsJam arbitrage tool, I look for crossed markets, and then I run the plays that seem to have insane value, like this play on Joe Adele. So let me break down real quickly how I find home run bets. So here you can see the OddsJam arbitrage tool. Again, arbitrage just means crossed market. Two books have such different odds. Here's an example on Tyler McGill. You can see Rebet and DraftKings have such different prices that if I just follow an arbitrage calculator, bet the over on DraftKings, under on Rebet, I'll guarantee a risk-free profit of $17.62. But what I'd want to do is type in home run. Obviously, that's the first thing I want to do. And then what I like to do is look for good promos. So DraftKings seems to run this promo every single day. It's a no sweat home run bet. So basically you place a bet up to the maximum allowed, which I think varies for certain users. So mine is max reward of $5, which is kind of crappy, but whatever. So what I'm going to do is just opt into the promo. I'm going to go back here. And let's see, where's the home run value? So currently the best values on Guerrero plus 650. This actually seems to be pretty incredible. It's crossed with ProfitX, and there's a fair amount of liquidity on ProfitX, 3.3K. So I have two options, right? I could just bet the over on DraftKings, hedge, bet the under on ProfitX, make a risk-free profit. But it's pretty clear, in my opinion, no other book offering above plus 650. FanDuel's only plus, 480. There's a decent amount of liquidity on ProfitX that, okay, the value is actually on DraftKings at plus 650. So I can just click here, bet this, hit the little MLB, no sweat, home run, add the token in. And honestly, then I'm just going to bet this, right? So I can just throw down a bet for this, get it locked in, and then I'm good to go, right? I place my bet, we're good to go. Pretty easy. Like, this is great value. You can bet this, obviously, for as much as you want. And you can actually see here, what I'd like to do is I can also go to a NoVig odds calculator. So what this calculator does, I always say it's the most important calculator in sports betting, is all of these sports books like Circa, they make money by charging a spread. So you can see Circa, which is known to be a pretty sharp book, they have a 180 cent spread, plus 520 on the over. We're getting 130 cents better at plus 650, minus 700 on the under. So this isn't arbitrage. However, it's pretty clear that we're getting good improvement from Circa. So what you can do is DVig the market, remove the spread. So the sportsbook works the opposite way. So the way that Circa works, Circa Sportsbook, is they have a model that, they're taking all these bets. So you can pull up a line movement chart. These sportsbooks are constantly, ticking around their odds, whatever. So depending on weather changes, if a starting pitcher is replaced, all of that is going to be priced into the odds these books are putting out. But the way these books make money is they have models that spit out, hey, here's what we think the market should be. Plus 542 on Guerrero to go yard, minus 542 on him to not go yard. That's a market with no vig, with no juice, right? So we're devigging the market. Sportsbooks like Circa goes the opposite way. They have a model that's saying, hey, Guerrero's about plus 550 to go yard, so His under should be minus 540, and then they juice their markets. They add the VIG. So we're going the opposite way. We're de-VIGging the market. So according to Circa, this bet should be priced at, approximately plus 540. We're getting plus 650, which is better than fair value. So this bet would be plus EV or profitable. So anyways, I got Guerrero locked in. Here's another play, But what I can do is maybe it's like, okay, I took advantage of this promo on DraftKings. Now let's focus on some other books. So here you can see Tyrone Taylor. There's not a ton of books posting odds, but again, we know by definition, one of these two bets has to be plus EV or profitable, him to go yard plus 900 or him to not go yard at minus 590. So maybe we put as much down as we can on it. This book, Rebet, I've taken a lot of money from them, so I don't have super great betting limits, to be honest, but we can see how much they give me. Let's see if they give me 50 bucks. They may say no, but we'll see. And they take it. So there we go. We got Tyrone Taylor to go yard at plus 900. And what I'm going to do is just refresh this. What is going on here? Anyways, so there we got a bet locked in, on Rebet. However, what I was going to say is now let's go to FanDuel. FanDuel has a promo. You can see right here, 50% Dinger Tuesday profit boost, which is obviously amazing. So what I can do is go to the OddsJam positive EV tool. What I like to de-VIG to for home run bets is Circa. It's one of the sharpest books for player props. They have pretty tight markets. So what I can do is just go here. For the purpose of home run bets, I expand my maximum odds range. And then I can just type in home run. And then we can kind of look through and see which of these we think is best. And, for example, let's take a look at Sean Murphy. That seems decent. Ryan O'Hearn. This is arbitrage to Circa. So what I can actually do is I can go here. Here's another one on Gavin Sheets. Again, I just typed in home run, so I'm only seeing home run bets. But again, even though I don't have access to Circa, it's not a sports book I use, it's not a book in my state, you still want to look at their odds as a source of information, right? As a data point. So in this case, it's like, okay, FanDuel's offering the best value on Ryan O'Hearn. If I did have access to Circa, I could bet the over on FanDuel, the under on Circa, and guarantee a profit. So we know one of these two bets has to be plus EV. Or I can take another play. So what I like to do is just kind of look through these, depending on whatever, like personal preferences, stuff like that. Maybe you like some of these plays better than others, but whatever. I don't have a problem with Lindor. So now I'm getting a 50% profit boost on top of that. So for the profit boost, they're only going to give me a max of $10 for this promo on FanDuel. So now I'm getting even better, right? This is an even bigger arbitrage bet to Circa. I'm getting plus 800. Circa has the under at minus 850. So again, I personally don't have access to Circa in my state, but if I did, I could even take this promo and turn it in to a risk-free profit of $3, right? I could arbitrage bet this. This is Alvarez. So I could bet on Alvarez plus 800 on FanDuel, right? I could hedge, bet his under at minus 850 on Circa. Because this promo is only $10 max. Some people may get 25 depending on, what state you're in, whatever. Then you'd make even more risk-free profit. So this is for people like when I started sports betting, I basically just arbitrage bet these promos. I took the free money. But in this case, I'm not going to arbitrage bet it. I'm just looking at Circa as a source of information and saying, hey, I'm getting really good value to a sharp book. And also at plus 1,200, no other book offering above plus 733. This is an absolute no-brainer. So I also like to check for arbitrage bets, especially on home run plays, as we get closer to game time. Because as starting lineups come out, if a player is batting in a different, higher in the order, lower in the order, oftentimes you'll see the odds shift around and you can get really good home run value. But anyways, Alvarez, plus 1,200, that's what I locked in for this FanDuel promo. And that's basically how I find my home run bets. I either use the positive EV tool, I DVIG to circa. So the reason I DVIG to circa, because usually when I'm sports betting, I use this OddsJam recommended book weights, is for home run bets. Most of these sports books, like you can see here, DraftKings, Rebet, Caesars, they only offer one-way markets, right? There's no, like on Caesars, on DraftKings, you can bet on a player to hit a home run. You can't bet on that player to not hit a home run. You can only bet the over, not the under. So long story short, it's impossible to DVIG the market. It's impossible to use this NoVig odds calculator if you don't have odds on the over and the under, because you don't know how much juice these books are charging. Like, it's impossible to know based on, Caesar's market plus 700, what should this be priced at, right? We don't have odds on the under. So when you're using this NoVig odds calculator, you need odds on the over and the under. So long story short, you have to use a book. You have to DVIG to a book with two-way markets, and Circa and Pinnacle are the main two. I personally like to DVIG to Circa because they, in general, seem to have tighter home run markets. So I can try to find an example, but I don't know why Pinnacle. Here you can see an example. Circa has an 105-cent spread on a Rosarena, right? Plus 395, minus 500. Pinnacle's market is much wider, plus 392, minus 650. So Circa for MLB player props for home runs is actually, in my opinion, a sharper book. So that's what I DVIG to. And again, you can't use the OddsJam recommended weights. All these home run bets, I believe, go away because OddsJam recommended weights requires that there's a certain number of sports books posting odds that can be DVIG to show a bet. So in this case, it's like all these one-way markets, we really only have a couple data points, a couple sharper books offering two-way markets. So because most of these books only offer one-way markets, it's not going to pop up under OddsJam recommended weights. But regardless, that's how I find my home run bets. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Let me know any questions, and thanks so much for your time.